cavitation examples, which gives us a chance to use some of our filtering, right?
On your way.
Now that filtering we talked about yesterday, that's the first time I've ever done that. In 30-plus years of teaching chest radiology, I've never really kind of done it all in a table like that. So you're a first. So if somebody gets it in a table form, give me a copy of it, because I may be able to use it. If I do, I'll give you credit for it.
All right.
You can put your name on it.
You put your name on it, you don't get credit.
Everyone was like, challenge accepted.
Right, it's like, well, okay.
Who gets it to him first?
Right. Have a couple of names.
And probably the best way to do it would be in a, like in a spreadsheet, you know, like an Excel spreadsheet, and do it that way. You have to have kind of a table, though, to have what some of the abbreviations would be. You know, like we talked about, you know, smooth, you know, well-defined smooth, well-defined lumpy. You know, you'd have to have some abbreviations for that. All right, so let's look at this one. This is an abnormal density. So how does that differ from what we've been looking at here with these silicosis examples?
Unilateral, localized.
Yeah, the density is completely different. Still water density, but where these others were bilateral, widespread, non-homogeneous, this is very localized, isn't it? Now, where is it localized to? I don't know. All I can say from that view is in the lower half of the lung. What segments could it be in where it's located?
7, 10, and 5.
Yeah, it could be in 5. And it's far enough lateral, it might even be a little bit of 4. It could be in 7, might be a little bit of 8. Could be in 10, might even be a little bit of 9. Because it's going a little bit beyond the middle of the lung. So, but yeah, I think mostly 5, 7, or 10, exactly. And there's no way to know for sure where it is without lateral, because there's no silhouetting that we can use to know where it is. Looks like we can kind of see the vasculature through it, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. So that may put it maybe a little bit more anterior. Is the density circular or oval?
Circular.
Yeah. Does it have a well-defined outer border?
Yes.
Yes. Is it subsegmental, segmental, lobar? What would its distribution be?
Subsegmental.
Yeah, subsegmental, exactly. Remember, if it's segmental, it has to be the entire segment. So if it's less than the whole segment, then subsegmental is anything from really tiny to just less than the whole segment. So that's a subsegmental density, circular to oval, well-defined outer border. Is consolidation a good choice for this? Because this is cat P, isn't it? Isn't that where we'd look? This is be on the far left of the chart, and the considerations are: is it consolidation? Is it atelectasis? Is it a tumor? Is it in the pleural space? Is it on the external chest wall? That's CATPE. If it was consolidation, how would we expect it to look? If it was a consolidated density. So if it was a localized pneumonia.
It would be more homogeneous.
Less refined.
Not necessarily.
Might be.
Yeah, fuzzy, less refined.
Yes, the border would be fuzzy, wouldn't it? Because if we go back and think of the 7 characteristics of consolidation, 6 and 7 are really the important ones. And number 6 says fuzzy border unless doing what?
Or running up against a fissure.
Unless it's against a pleural fissure boundary. There's no round fissure boundary in the lower lung. The only fissure that's down there is the horizontal one, and it's flat, and the major one, and it's flat. There's no round pleural boundary anywhere in the lung. So that's unlikely to be consolidation. Now, there is something called round pneumonia that can have a well-defined border. That's beyond our capability. For our purposes, consolidation is going to be fuzzy unless it's lobar or up against a fissure boundary. Now, it's not homogeneous, is it? If we made it homogeneous, though, the thing's about almost the size of a tennis ball, isn't it? And is well-defined. That's very characteristic for tumor, to have that kind of appearance. Circular, oval, well-defined is classic for tumor. But tumors are supposed to be homogeneous, typically, unless they've done what?
Cavitated.
Unless they've cavitated. So, let's think about our filters for the neoplasm group, which was number 2 in the list, wasn't it? And in that list, it had bronchogenic, and which is the classic bronchogenic that cavitates? Well, all of the bronchogenics are carcinomas because they're epithelial in origin. But which bronchogenic classically cavitates, is the most common cell type to cavitate? Squamous, yeah, squamous. Mets can also cavitate, but what's the main difference between a primary neoplasm and a metastatic neoplasm?
Its origin?
Yes, but radiographically. When we think about our filters, what was classic about Mets? Multiple. Multiple. Tumor, solitary. Mets is classically multiple. Not 100%, but most of the time it's multiple. This is not multiple, this is solitary, isn't it? What do you think about the wall thickness? You see, that's why there's lucency in here. This thing's cavitated. Do you get a thin or a thick appearance to that?
Thick.
That's a thick wall. Yeah. Thick can be up to 1 centimeter. That's a thick wall. Thin wall is measured just in a few millimeters, is a thin wall. Thick is like 1 centimeter or more. So that's got the well-defined thick to it. And the inner border, kind of lumpy, nodular, but still kind of well-defined. Well, this is a tumor, and it is cavitated. Now, what's the classic finding of cavitation?
Air fluid level?
Air fluid level. See that one? Beautiful air fluid level. You see one in that one? No. It depends on where the cavity communicates with the bronchial tree. Because it has to, in order to have air inside a cavity, it has to erode into a bronchus. If it erodes into a bronchus at the bottom of it, then the thing can drain away completely. If it connects halfway up, then the bottom part of it may not drain, and then you get a fluid level. If it drains out of the bottom of the thing, then there may not be a fluid level. Not all cavities have fluid levels. And one of the things that's unique to tumors, because it's cellular and solid, is it may incompletely cavitate. I mean, part of it may become necrotic, and part of it's not. And so the thing doesn't hollow out completely. It may only partially hollow out. That's why we've kind of got this density right in here, which looks kind of like something inside the cavity, doesn't it? Well, over the next couple of weeks, as we get into the chronic pneumonias, particularly when we look at the fungal pneumonias, there's a fungal pneumonia that likes to grow inside a pre-existing hole in the lung. And it can cause a mass inside a pre-existing cavity. It's called aspergillosis. Actually, Dr. Root had aspergillosis.
How do you differentiate this from aspiration, which is also in
Aspirations are typically bacterial, and they tend to have fuzzy borders. Yeah. The location is good,
right?
and that would come up in our filter looking at location because it's medial right lung base, but the appearance is not really consistent with an aspiration pneumonia. Because remember, an aspiration pneumonia is going to be a pneumonia. It's going to be bacterial infection, typically fuzzy walls to it. Not well defined like this. So this here could be, I mean, there's really two things. It's either an incomplete tumor cavitation, or they've got a fungus ball growing inside the pre-existing cavity. Which, by the way, they can also grow in paranasal sinuses. You can have a fungus ball in a paranasal sinus. It's like a hairball, only it's a fungus ball. Yeah. That's a really nice tumor example. All right, here's a traumatic